ASG University welcomes you to another edition of the ASG Cloud Factory video tutorial. In this episode, we're going to present the architecture, the requirements, and the installation of our workspace solution, ASG CloudCockpit. Video training for CloudCockpit, architecture, requirements, and installation. This video tutorial consists of 5 modules. In the first module, we will provide an overview of the training and its components. Module number 2 will place the CloudCockpit in the context of a complete Cloud Factory suite. Number 3 will introduce the system's requirements for the CloudCockpit, and module number 4 will feature a live recording of a complete CloudCockpit installation. Here you will learn how to deploy a first instance of CloudCockpit and how to activate CloudCockpit through the Cloud Factory admin console. In the last module, module number 5, we will demonstrate on how to connect an application farm with the CloudCockpit instance. In this training tutorial, a Windows Remote Desktop Service host farm is being used. Learning content, all you need to know for successful CloudCockpit installation. For the sake of simplicity, our demonstration is performed in a base configuration. ASG realizes that the actual production environments are much more complex. Please refer to the additional training material to learn more about the advanced features and configuration of ASG CloudCockpit. As a starting point, we will show you the big picture of Cloud Factory 8.1 and how the module interacts with each other. The main focus of this training is on the requirements of a successful basic CloudCockpit installation. CloudCockpit can be used in a variety of different scenarios and environments. However, this part will be discussed in the minimal requirements. This includes the support of operating systems, the basic database requirements, and the IT environment and the CloudCockpit components, such as the installation of the Internet Information Server role and the creation of the user and groups used by CloudCockpit. And for further reference, a Citrix storefront installation will be shown and CloudCockpit use of the dynamic link libraries of the storefront in combination with Citrix HDX protocol. The biggest part of this module will be the live presentation of a complete and fully functional CloudCockpit instance. First, we will install the CloudCockpit base package. After this, we will configure to present the CloudCockpit interface. This will be executed through the Cloud Factory admin console. And at the end, we shall demonstrate on how the first application farm to present application to the end user with CloudCockpit. This will use a Windows Remote Desktop Server host installation. The complete architecture, looking at the big picture. Module number 2. Repetition, the complete Cloud Factory overview. The ASG Cloud Factory solution consists of several components and describes several layers, starting with the deployment and resource management of physical and virtual server incidents provided by ASG's Cloud Shaper, followed by a layer of fully automated execution of highly configurable workflows provided by the ASG Cloud Robot. Last but not least, up to dynamic workspaces layer provided by ASG CloudCockpit and ASG's newly featured Cloud Store with its IT Service Store. With its stack, we provide a complete cloud management solution. CloudCockpit and Cloud Shaper are managed by the Cloud Factory admin console. A minimal architecture for the Cloud Factory based on best practices. A core requirement is a Microsoft Active Directory for authentication and user management purposes. DNS for the name resolution and DHCP with reverse lookup are also needed. For the deployment of physical systems, the Windows deployment services are also required. Some Cloud Factory modules require Microsoft SQL database, provided with a Microsoft SQL Server. For example, the Cloud Factory database, which is used by Cloud Factory admin console, authentication is provided by Active Directory. And for Cloud Factory installation, a third server instance is required onto which CloudCockpit, Cloud Robot, Cloud Store, and Cloud Shaper can be installed. CloudCockpit requires Microsoft SQL database. This database can reside in the same Microsoft SQL database server as Cloud Factory's database. In addition to the Internet Information Server with ASP.NET is required for CloudCockpit. To be able to publish applications, CloudCockpit can use Windows Remote Desktop Service Host or Citrix XEN app or XEN desktop services. This will be explained later on in this training course. Cloud Shaper does not require its own database. This component uses the Cloud Factory database. Cloud Shaper requires a file share for the provided installation and configuration packages. Cloud Robot and Cloud Store use Mongo database, which can also be installed on SQL database server instance. The next section we will continue with the CloudCockpit installation. CloudCockpit requirements. Welcome to Module 3 of this video tutorial. Here we'll take a look at the installation requirements. The basic requirements for a CloudCockpit installation. Supporting operating systems reflecting best practice. Windows 7 64-bit for the Cloud Factory Admin Console can be installed also on a separate client PC. In addition, we need .NET 2.0 and .NET 3.0 or later. Windows 2008 RD or Windows 2012 RD for the CloudCockpit server. The Internet Information Server role must be installed and activated in compatibility mode. Microsoft ASP.NET version 4.5 is also required. And for the CloudCockpit database server, we use Windows 2008 RD or Windows 2012 RD. Add Microsoft .NET 2.0 and .NET 3.0 or later, and Microsoft SQL Server 2008 RD or 2012. Services and software used by CloudCockpit. Window requirements. Cloud Factory relies on DNS with reverse lookup for IP name resolution, Active Directory for user management and authentication. CloudCockpit relies on Microsoft Internet Information Server, the version 6.0, 7.0, or 8.0, and compatibility modes are supported. Please note that ASP.NET has to be active and fully functional. Verify that Microsoft.NET 4.5 is installed and ready to use. The Cloud Factory Admin Console needs to be installed and is ready to use. The database requirements for CloudCockpit are the same as the Cloud Factory database, so the CloudCockpit database can reside on the same database server. CloudCockpit also writes data to the Cloud Factory database. Applications and services supported and delivered by ASG's CloudCockpit. The following solutions can be delivered either separately or together in one CloudCockpit instance. Applications can be published, for example, via Windows Remote Desktop Service Host, better known as Microsoft Terminal Server. We support RDSH on Windows 2008 R2 or on Windows 2012 R2. We will use this later on in the training. Another way of providing application is Citrix XEN app or XEN desktop, what it's also known as. In this case, Citrix Storefront needs to be installed. And for streaming of virtualized application, also known as application isolation, ASG's Cameo and ASG's AppMir or VM's AppV are supported. Additional supports are Microsoft Exchange and Microsoft Link, and also Zimbra. Modular 4, Installation of CloudCockpit. Before we begin, required users and groups. ASG's Cloud Factory is a multi-tenanted ready solution. The authentication uses Microsoft Active Directory. This means that every CloudCockpit user requires an AD user account. The users can either use their SAM account name or the user principal name, for example, user add company. This name must be properly defined in AD. Typically, the first and last names are used. Access to CloudCockpit can be managed by AD group or by organized units, and also existing organized units can be used. During the installation process, a user account with administrative privileges on a database server is required. CloudCockpit also requires an AD account with read privileges on a connected domain. CloudCockpit will also use this account for all queries to activate directory. In this video training, we are not using the expert mode in the installation. For the sake of clarity, we will show you the installation as a workflow and follow this workflow step by step. First, we will create the needed user and groups. And the second is an optional step, we will install Citrix Storefront on the CloudCockpit server. And in the third step, we will install the CloudCockpit base package on the CloudCockpit server. The wizard to publish a first instance of CloudCockpit starts automatically after the installation of the base package has been finished. Now that we have to activate the instance with the Cloud Factory admin console. With this step, we complete the basic installation of CloudCockpit. What's needed next are the applications to be delivered to the CloudCockpit. In our case, we will add the first application form based on the Windows Remote desktop service host. Now we have an operational CloudCockpit instance. So let's start here and create the user groups. Live installation, create users and groups. Live installation, install the Citrix Storefront. This is an optional install. Now let's look at the install of the Citrix Storefront. In this live recording, we will install the component Citrix Storefront on the CloudCockpit server. CloudCockpit relies on some of the DLL's Cloud Store if you want to use Citrix as one of the way to deliver applications to your end users. Live installation, installing ASG's CloudCockpit base package. Next, we will install ASG CloudCockpit with the setup of the base package. We can select the language, accept the license, and install it in the default path. We can control our space required, and now click and install. Now some components are unpacked and installed. At the end of the installation step, we can start the wizard to publish the first instance of CloudCockpit by selecting this checkbox. Publish a first instance of CloudCockpit with the wizard. Live installation, publish the first CloudCockpit instance. We will now run the wizard to publish the first CloudCockpit instance. We select the first option, Initial Installation. This will create a new CloudCockpit database. And in this demonstration, we do not use the expert mode. We see the path on our web server, and for this instance, we can select default authentication mode. We select form-based. And in training, we'll talk more about this later on. We create the database with our first instance, so we need the database server and the account with privileges on the database. We create the new database. And the database server or user and the name of the Cloud Factory database. The AD domain for this instance with the LDAP path and the user with the read privileges. And select organizational units or groups for access validation. And here we are selecting group. And by clicking publish, this instance will be created and published in the IIS server. And now we have published our first instance. Activate the CloudCockpit instance via the Cloud Factory admin console. Live installation. Activate CloudCockpit in the admin console. The newly published instance now must be activated in the admin console, and we use the tab on the CloudCockpit, and we see that the instance is ready and available in the admin console via the Cloud Factory database. And with the link to the instance URL, we can test our instance. The login screen is shown, and here we can log in using our CloudCockpit username that we created previously in the AD. And after a successful login, we can see the default workspace without any application with the exception of a browser. Module 5, add first application form from provided applications in CloudCockpit. We use the Windows Remote Desktop host, and we now add the first application form. Live installation, add first application form. We have no application form in our instance of CloudCockpit. So we select Application Form in the incident tree under Application Presentation. Now unlock this part, select New in Microsoft Remote Desktop Service Form. Add new form. Our service form is MPW, which is available on our Cloud Factory, and we now can select it, tap Application in our form. Now we can click Import and select the published applications from within this form, and with these steps we can add more applications to our CloudCockpit instance. Now back on the CloudCockpit form, with the click on our URL of our instance, we can log into the instance in browser window. And we can see that under My Applications, we can see and access all of the available applications that are provided. And we can start, for example, PowerPoint. And PowerPoint will be published as a remote application. This now concludes this video training.